I'm a little bit distracted with the wedding, but I'm not that distracted. I know. Would you like to hear the story of the family of the JCC?
Yes.
Very good. So, in 2002, first of all, the question you might be asking yourself was, what does Prince Charles have to do generally with the Jewish institution in Krakow? Is there a natural thing that you're not thinking of or something? No. No, it's a good question to be asking. It's not a natural connection to make. In 2002, the Prince was here on a state visit. Just a regular state visit as representing as the son of the head of state, and they brought him over to Kazimierz, to the Jewish quarter, for a short meeting with some survivors in a cafe a couple blocks from here. He was very moved by hearing their story, and first surviving the Holocaust and then surviving 50 years, outlasting communism. And he said, "What can I do to help you? What do you need?" Which is a nice thing to ask. Maybe a lot of people ask. He actually asked and meant it. And they said, "Look, we have all these synagogues. We have a place to pray. What we don't have is a place to be together, like a senior citizen center." Prince Charles, to his eternal credit, said, "I will help you realize your dream." And he did. He went back to the UK and he got involved with an organization called World Jewish Relief. We have some representatives, people very involved with World Jewish Relief here today. World Jewish Relief used to be called the Central British Fund for German Jewry, and they were the main organizer of the Kindertransport. Right? And they do a lot of good work, Jewish and non-Jewish work all around the world, disaster relief in Jewish communities in Moldova and Ukraine, and they were approached by Prince Charles with this project to do a senior citizen center in Krakow. And they work with the JDC, with the Joint. You guys know what the JDC is? Large American Jewish Philanthropic Organization, sort of one of the main overseas arms of American Jewish philanthropy, let's say. They do a lot of work with World Jewish Relief. And together they took a look at Krakow, and they saw something very interesting that was going on. That it wasn't only this older community of survivors that was slowly trailing off, that there were young people that were starting to find out that they were Jewish. And they would meet, two of them would meet in a pub. And then they would say, "What, are we the only two people?" And they'd say, "You know what, I know this guy who I studied with, he's Jewish." And then the next week it would be 4, and the next week it would be 6, and then they'd go back to the pub and it would be 8, and the next week in the pub it would be 12. If you spend this week in Krakow, then you understand why you spend a lot of time in pubs in Krakow. So that was it. But anyway, in a really just a very lucky, maybe lucky is not the right word, I think to their eternal credit really, they tapped into this Jewish life that was starting to bubble up in Krakow, and they did something very bold, which is not only say, "Thank you very much, Your Highness, of course we'd like to do this project with you," because that's what one does when the Prince of Wales approaches you, but they said, "That's a great idea, but why don't we do something even broader? Right? Instead of only trying to take care of this older survivor community, what if we can do something to actually reinvigorate this community? We can actually rebuild this community. Actually do something so that these young people can meet other young people and they can start to rebuild a community. Maybe this community has a chance." And Prince Charles said, "Good idea." And he gave some money, and with his initial interest, World Jewish Relief was able to raise the money in the UK from the British Jewish community. And in 2008, Prince Charles and Camilla, the Duchess of Cornwall, April 29th, they came out and spent a lovely, lovely day with us. I was Prince Charles's host for the day in the JCC, which was quite an interesting way to spend the day. It was, I'm a nice Jewish boy from Queens in New York, and that's not the usual way we spend our days hanging out with Prince Charles, but it was really something. And I can say without question that if Prince Charles hadn't gotten involved, the JCC wouldn't be here. And I can also say with reasonable confidence that if the JCC weren't doing what it's doing, then I don't think this community would have really much of a future. I think there would be Jews here, and I think you can have Jews in different places, but there's a difference between having Jews in a city or having Jews in a place and having a Jewish community. So it's, you know, I think it's just something remarkable, and even the cynical New Yorker in me understands that there was nothing to be gained. It wasn't Prince Charles thinking politically about what was expedient. It was somebody who was really moved on the spot and actually followed through and did something remarkable that's at this point helping revive a 700-year-old Jewish community. Maybe I'll tell you just a couple other things. I want to mention one thing that we do which is really, really cool, which is, I mean, I can talk all day. I don't know if you guys have questions on this. Keep talking. We do something interesting called Ride for the Living. You've heard of March for the Living? The March for the Living is a march that thousands of Jewish, mostly Jewish students come from all over the world. They march from Auschwitz to Birkenau, and they have an education program which historically hasn't paid too much attention to the Jews of Krakow, or to the Jews in Poland. It's changed, it's gotten much, much better, and now, this past year, I think we had 3,000 of the marchers came into this building in about 3 days, which for us is great, except we don't have room in the building for 3,000 people, but we seem to make do. Anyway, that's what March for the Living is. So the story for Ride for the Living, we generally have had a bit of a, not a bad relationship with March for the Living, but let's say that we've gently encouraged them to pay a little bit more attention to the Jewish revival underway, and now they do, and we're all lovey-dovey. Ride for the Living is a ride from Auschwitz to the JCC that we just did this past Friday. What is it? What is the origin of this ride? Well, a young guy from London named Robert Desmond fell in love with a Polish woman and decided to move to Poland. And he decided to ride his bike. He got on his bike in London. He rode 1,350 miles. He videoed along the way, sites connected to the Holocaust, sites connected to World War II. He's a bit of a history buff. He wanted to raise awareness of the Holocaust. And he finished his bike ride 1,350 miles later, 3.5 weeks. Took him, and he finished in Auschwitz. And then he came to the JCC. He started to get involved. We became friends. He became part of our community, and he found something he wasn't expecting to find, which is Jewish life. And we're sitting around one day, a bunch of us, and we said, listen, Robert, you know, it's great what you've done. You know, you rode your bike, and good for you. That's, you know, it's quite a thing to do, and you've raised a lot of awareness, and more people are, you know, more people know about the Holocaust because of what you've done. But you finished in Auschwitz, and if you have a choice not to finish in Auschwitz, then you don't finish in Auschwitz. From my point of view, it's not a place that you choose to stop. You get the hell out of it. So what if we finish your ride together? What if we get a bunch of people and we go from Auschwitz, a place of darkness, to the JCC, this place of rebirth, a place of light? Said, good idea, let's do it. So we did it in 2014 for the first time. We had 15 participants. Here, Joanna here, who works here, was one of the original 15 participants. And we raised money, and with the money that we raised, we took a group of 30 child survivors of the Holocaust to Israel. 30 hidden children. We brought them to Israel for a week. Many of them for the first time to Israel, some of them the first time on a plane. I was with one of our survivors. It was her first time on an escalator. That was an interesting ride on the escalator. Remarkable that we went all over Israel. We went to Yad Vashem, where they paid tribute. Remember, these are hidden children, right? So they were saved by non-Jews, and we went to Yad Vashem, and they paid tribute to the non-Jews who saved them. It was unbelievable. As somebody who lived for 8 years in Israel and went through the army and all of this, and lots of ceremonies, and that was the most emotional, amazing experience I ever had in Israel. So the ride was a big success. We said 2015, let's do it again. We do it again. 85 participants, and before the ride, we get a call from Canada. Anyone here from Canada? Yay. Hi, Canada. We get a call from Canada, and we're excited. We go, wait a minute, wow. They've heard of us in Canada. Wait, you're also from Canada. Okay. Shout out to Canada there, Karen. So we were excited that we got a phone call from Canada. Wow, in Canada, they've heard of our ride. We're really going worldwide. But it wasn't only that the guy calling us was from Canada. His name was Marcel, and he was from Krakow. From Krakow, now he's in Canada. He's 80. Wow. He is an Auschwitz survivor, and he begins to tell us his story that at the age of 10, January 27th, 1945, he was liberated, camp was liberated by the Soviets, and he, with a few of the other children, walked back to Krakow. He was looking for his family. His family was murdered, except for his mother. He reunited with his mother. They stayed in Poland for a while, then they went to Israel, and from Israel he went to Montreal. And he is an avid cyclist. As a good Montreal Jew, he spends his winters cycling around Boca Raton in Florida, and he wants to come on our ride. Can he come? Yes, Marcel, we'd love to have you on our ride. So 2015, 85 of us, along with Marcel Zielinski and his son and his 2 granddaughters from Israel, ride with us along the path that he walked as a 10-year-old, having just been liberated in a horrible condition. It took him a week, 10 days to walk took 10 days to walk the 90 kilometers or something from Auschwitz to Krakow. And instead of looking for his murdered family, he's riding alongside the family that he created and the reborn Jewish community of Krakow. It's phenomenal. So Marcel, we did it again last year, 150 riders. This year we had 160. Marcel came back and did it again. He's still in Krakow. If you have a chance to meet with Marcel Zielinski, he's one of the most inspiring people. He did it again at age 82. He is an unbelievable, the warmest, most compassionate, calm person. And to have gone through what he's gone through is truly just remarkable to be able to maintain that. We had a 2-time Israeli cycling champion with us. We had an Olympic cyclist from Namibia with us. We don't get many Namibians. This was exciting. We had the U.S. ambassador rode the whole way with us. We had the consul general. We had the chief rabbi of Poland, who was we had Frida from the front row. We had quite a team riding with us. We do satellite rides all over North America. We had Detroit. We had Palo Alto. People, JCCs or federations, their spin class. They decided, did it dedicated to us and helped us raise money. So this was something very, very exciting that just happened this Friday. So for us, it's a very busy time in Krakow because we've essentially combined our 2 biggest things of the year, which are the Ride for the Living and dealing with all these logistics of 160 people coming from all over the world and hotel rooms and flights and this and transportation for 4 days, and the Jewish Culture Festival. I think we have about 80 or 90 events going on here this week, and then my little wedding for 400 people on Sunday. Those are generally the things that I wanted to tell you about. If you guys have any questions, I'd be very, very happy to at least try to answer them. Yeah.
So, for example, one question. So, you mentioned Marcel in Canada and the communities around. So, what would you say is the importance of the JCC in Krakow for the Jewish community outside of Poland? So, in North America or in Israel? And another question that I have is the JCC here, it seems it's functioning in a 4-lingual, quadrilingual environment. So there's English, there's Polish, there's Hebrew, there's Yiddish. So how would you say the importance of Yiddish is for, because like before the war, Yiddish was the main language of the Jewish community. So how would you point to that? And I think currently Yiddish is mainly spoken by communities in New York. So what would you say is the connection in that way?
Thank you. So the first question, a little bit I touched on it. Yeah. Why the JCC is important for the outside world. I think because it's become a symbol of hope and a symbol of resilience, and I think there aren't that many good stories these days in the Jewish world. We have a homeland after 2,000 years, and that's in some ways that divides Jews. Israel is a divisive subject among many Jews around the world, and Europe is a mess, and you have BDS on college campuses, which is divisive, and there are a lot of problems in the Jewish world, and we are a people of stories. In Pesach we tell the tale of the Jewish people in the Haggadah. Haggadah is the storybook. Lahagid in Hebrew, to tell. So I think the idea of stories is very important, and I think this is a story that's the meaning beyond what I said is that 75% of North American Jews come from Poland, and I think it's very unhealthy for us as a people to be cut off from our homeland. Our homeland is Israel from 2,000 years ago, but our homeland in terms of where we became who we are is Poland. And to only see the place where we became who we are as a people, the way we eat, the way we pray, the way we get married, the way I keep saying get married. All of these things are really either born or developed, came to fruition in Poland. And the idea that we ignore all of that, or we can't appreciate that because we're unable to see past the Holocaust, I think it's unhealthy for us. I understand why, and I don't want to diminish the Holocaust and say, don't forget about that. Not at all. But there has to be some way, this mechanism, we have to develop it about the Holocaust the way that we've developed for other years. But I think it's important, if you're a Sephardic Jew, you're cut off from where you are. right? You're a Sephardic Jew. You can't go now to Baghdad and Alexandria and Aleppo and go to these great Sephardic centers and connect to the community. They're lost to us. You're a Sephardic Jew. You're unmoored. You're not connected really. And I think as an Ashkenazi, from the Ashkenazi point of view, we have to make sure to stay connected to our heritage. And it's just unhealthy. It's just not healthy for us. You know, imagine growing up in a place. Imagine growing up and having a whole childhood there and having your family from a place, and one bad thing happens there, and that defines that place for you. Now, no matter how bad the bad thing is, I just don't think that that's healthy for us. And we need to somehow, again, it comes back for me to putting the Holocaust in perspective. But that being said, when I go to Auschwitz-Birkenau, like any of the rest of any camp, I walk out of that, trust me, the last thing I'm thinking at that moment is anything perspective. I'm thinking, oh my God, those Germans are the worst people, we should never forgive them, and how can we ever live here? But then it passes. But then it passes because I see what's going on here and I understand the importance of the mission. Your second question about Yiddish. Yiddish is, we really like Yiddish here. We teach Yiddish here at the JCC. We have a Yiddish Speakers Club, which is cool, which is young people who are studying Yiddish and they meet with native speakers and they do poetry and translations and things like that. Sometimes it's more